Hello, today we would like to present you the legal wireframe we found for exporting apricot ice cream from Spain to South Africa. After the product overview, we'll also go over the classification, the existing treaty that is in place, and what that means for the rule of origin and importing. So our corporation that we're looking at is Manzagas Corporation, which is a Spanish company that operates in multiple countries, and it promotes its eco-friendly organic products, but now they do want to expand into South Africa with their apricot ice cream. So the market looks very promising, but we want to give you an overview of what the existing tariff barriers are, but also non-tariff barriers. So the product itself consists of apricots on the one hand, but also of the creamy milk. So that also obviously comes with fructose, sugar, and ingredients like lecithin. So it has no artificially added sugar, low fat percentages, because they want to cater to health conscious consumers that look after themselves. The absence of these don't only makes it more attractive to health conscious consumers, but it also has advantages in terms of trade barriers.
Now, an overview of the classification process and its implications for international trade compliance. Accurate product classification in the harmonized system is essential for businesses engaged in international trade. It ensures compliance with trade regulations and facilitates proper tariff assessment. Today, we focus on apricot ice cream, specifically a variant without cocoa, added sugar, and with low milk fat content. The classification of this product involves careful consideration of its primary ingredients and composition. Under the harmonized system, apricot ice cream that lacks cocoa and added sugar and is low in milk fat is categorized under HS code 21050010. Let's break this down. Chapter 21 is miscellaneous edible preparations. Heading 2105, ice cream and other edible ice, whether or not containing cocoa. Subheading 21050010, ice cream not containing cocoa or added sugar.
Here we also have one slide to compare alternatives. What if, for example, if we add cocoa or there is artificial sugar, so the ice cream gets a bit less healthy, but also to percentages of the most favored nation rate and EU preferential rate will be impacted negatively. That's why we advise our clients to keep the sugar out of their apricot ice cream. Let's go over to talk about the existing trade agreements that they exist. The European Union closed an economic partnership agreement with the Southern African Development Community. So those are 6 South African countries that closed that treatment, but South Africa is certainly the economically most important one of these countries. And it also has some special regulations that don't apply to those other 5 countries within Africa. So it was signed in 2016 and replaced the prior old contract. And the most friendly nation tariff that we found is 10% of FOB value, but also a country-specific rate quota. So this is 5% for the first 105 tons. And the bound that is set in that treaty is 37%. So the whole treaty was done to encourage better trade from the EU to those South African countries and vice versa.
When it comes to rules of origin, we first base our responses in the Rules of Origin Self-Assessment tool from Access to Markets European Commission website. That basically gave us a couple of insights. The first major item to take from the Southern African Development Community Economic Partnership Agreement is the Article 7, that relates to wholly obtained products. The criteria for this one is that products need to originate within European Union territory. However, since ice cream is a processed product, it doesn't fall under primary products like minerals or fruits, so a supplier declaration is needed for each material in order to be submitted as a fully originated product. Some relevant points from this article: milk and fruits must comply with agricultural and animal management standards, and waste from production must be considered under specific disposable criteria. The second article that applies to rules of origin is Article 14, Territoriality Principle, which mandates that production must occur within the European nation territories. Processing outside of these territories only allowed if the value doesn't exceed 10% of the work price. Some of the documentation requirements is a self-declaration if the shipping is not over 6,000 euros, but will change to movement certificate for European nations for higher values. When it comes to transportation and third countries interaction, it dictates that products should not be processed in a third country. So for example, if I'm processing my ice cream in the European Union, and then an external process gets added outside of the territory, these will fail to prove the rules of origin. However, if we check in the official journal of the European Union, we only see that Article 7 for wholly obtained products as well only dictates that raw products must belong to other headings composing the ice cream. If, for example, I'm taking apricots, milk derives, lecithin, or like any other products from outside of the European Union, but mixing it up together there, it seems to comply with rules of origin. So we can see a clear contrast in documentation here. If we review the treaty talking about technical barriers of trade, there's a couple of important elements that we wanted to highlight. However, there's plenty more that need to comply, but these two are really interesting to start analyzing. The first one, with code A33, relates to packaging requirements. These rules talk about the containers for edible ice. It mentions that it should be intact, clean, suitable and strong enough for packaging and normal handling of the product, not import any undesirable taste, flavor, or smell, and should be completely sealed. It also specifies manipulation for multi-packs and other containers. Another technical barrier of trade that we thought was pretty interesting relates to the quality of the ice cream. The HTML code B7, talking about safety or performance requirement, talks about the overrun cup or overrun tops for the ice cream, which is basically the amount of air that you have while it's frozen. While doing the exercise of consultation, we wanted to relate this concept to Manzanares' brand identity, which we understand as high quality and focus on healthy lifestyle, meaning a good overrun standard, basically low level of air in the frozen ice cream. According to the treaty, the technical barriers of trade for this one mentions at least 7% vegetable fat or a combination of both vegetable fat and butter fat, or contain at least 33% millimeters of total solids, within at least 20% must be milk solids and non-fat products. We can conclude that Manzanares' apricot ice cream export project to South Africa is a promising but tariff-sensitive strategy. Basically, what we saw at the beginning, we need to specify the harmonized code really well, since as we understand products like cocoa and sugar are sensitive because of the production in the Southern African territory. It is really important when analyzing an export method that we understand the production system of the country where we're going to. It is also really important to maintain proper documentation, such as self-declarations of origins or movement certificates, to understand the regulatory wireframe to navigate tariff and non-tariff barriers. Another really important topic is to constantly be reviewing the treaty, and if it has any modifications or updates, be up to the challenge and the possible changes in documentation and requirements. Like what we saw on the self-assessment tool. Basically, they were asking you more things, so analyzing and double-checking both of the sources when it comes to potential wastes of time and operations.
Additionally, we recommend to adhere to South African labeling requirements, provide clear and comprehensive information about ingredients, nutritional values, and manufacturing details. Also, use logistic partnerships that comply with import regulations and origin criteria. As we mentioned before, engage with key regulatory bodies such as the South African Revenue Services and the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries is key to confirm compliance with import requirements. And last but not least, stay informed about changes in trade regulations and continuously monitor compliance with Codex Alimentarius to follow product quality standards.